Boo! Did I scare you? I hope I did. We're starting a little bit earlier because I'm getting really tired and I want to take advantage of the time when I'm not falling asleep. So we're going to start earlier and finish earlier. Isn't that great? Now, I've spoke with Mr. Styx Hexenhammer, and he's going to have a stream during the midterms in the United States. And I'm going to try to make it and become a guest. He's not going to have as many guests as last time, but he's very popular due to his spot-on political analysis. And the only question is, do I show my face or do I bring the troll? I'll probably bring the troll. Why not? I mean, I spent money on this troll. Might as well monetize it. So there's that. Apparently he's not going to stream from his house because he's afraid of swatting. I don't think you're paranoid if they're actually out to get you. So he's going to stream from an undisclosed location. It's very interesting because so many people got swatted. And the American media isn't talking about it. Like, they're not trying to find solutions or anything. I guess it is what it is. As long as important people aren't affected, they're not going to care, are they? All right, let's talk about something else that's interesting. This actually, so many people created a brain teaser. I wanna talk about this because it's muy interesante. So it's from Pipkin Pippa. Why the fuck does she keep saying like so much? She should become a philosopher. You know, I think she doesn't have a university degree. Pippa, if you're listening, I would pay you to go to philosophy university. Anyway, Ray, look at this. Is anyone else annoyed that we can only see different colors? Feel like there should be more. I'm colorblind. Thanks for bragging about how colorful your word is. Look, I thought it's illegal to own people as slaves. Like, slavery is illegal, and Pippa just owned this guy so hard I feel it from here. There is something interesting about colors. So first of all, one of the things that the human brain can't imagine is new colors. I mean, the human brain can imagine a lot. We can imagine new faces. We can imagine a new animal. We can imagine a new planet. We can't imagine new colors. And what is interesting is that there are people who are colorblind, and with the help of special glasses, they're able to see red for the first time. And they break down in tears. It's a very emotional moment for them to see color for the first time. And I'm thinking, like, can you imagine if you were to see other colors? Because we actually get to see a very low end of the color spectrum. But if we were to see other colors, we would probably cry as well. By the way, do you know what else we can't imagine besides color? We can't imagine the absence of space. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, imagine that there's nothing, and people say, well, okay, and like, what do you see? Well, it's dark everywhere, right? Because there's not. Imagine if the darkness doesn't exist either. Like, you can't do that. Like, the necessity for us to imagine space is ingrained in our brain. Like, you can't just imagine not existing, you know, like how it was before you were born. Hello, Seran, welcome to the chat. So anyway, we're going to talk about New York City, which apparently released a apparently it released a video about how to survive a nuclear blast. Usually this is especially like before the midterms, it's kind of like, be afraid, pretty much like that. But Let's watch it together. It's got 1 minute. Of course, comments have disabilities. My fucking god, I can't take videos seriously that give comments disabilities. Why is that, chat? Why can't I take these videos seriously? It's kind of like it disrespects you, doesn't it? It's like, I don't give a fuck about your input. Fuck off. Like, we will tell you what's important, and you just shut up and listen. Look at the other videos that I'm looking at. Look, broad sense of frustration, anger, and despair from Sky News Australia. Ken Ashcorp, PPP. Watame Factory. Nah. Do I watch the good videos? Every now and then I watch the Young Turks to see where it's at, and I get flooded by left-wing bullshit. Yeah, I mean, giving comments disabilities, concerning. Hashtag concerned. I am concerned. Journalisming right now. Concerned. Alright, let's see what it's about. I love the ominous intro. Like music in the background. You get to hear the sirens.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why. Just know that the big one has hit, okay? So what do?
If that happens, I would prefer I'm as close to the blast as possible. Because at least you get over with it quickly. Because if you're far away from the blast, but still within the radius of the EMP, you're kind of fucked. Great to get into that a little bit.
There are 3 important steps that I want you to remember. Step 1.
Why is she so fucking happy, though? Like, this is something that I don't get. Like, you're talking about a nuclear blast. Why are you smiling? At least act concerned. Act like a journalist. This is another, this is one of the dumbest things. That's like, get inside. Okay, fine. I'm inside. I need food. What do? No, seriously, think about it, right? Like, there's a nuclear attack, right? So you get inside. How much food do you have? Because the thing is, like, what's going on outside? Outside, everyone is going to the supermarket and is buying everything. So if you choose to get inside in the beginning, you're going to risk not having the necessaries. Unless you're a prepper. Like, if you're a prepper, this doesn't apply. But, assuming that you're not a prepper, and you go inside, eventually you're going to run out of food. Like, most people have, like, 2, maybe 3 days. Think about the fact that your refrigerator isn't working because it's affected by the EMP. So you probably don't have that much food. Like, most of the food that you have is probably filled with perishables. So all the meat that you have is going to spoil. The vegetables are going to last for a little bit longer, but unless you have cans of food or military rations, you're fucked. So get inside. Okay, and then what?
Get inside fast. You, your friends, your family, get inside. And no, staying in the car is not an option. You need to get into a building and move away from the windows.
76 hours for radioactivity to drop. Okay, so if you stay inside for 76 hours, you'll probably run out of food faster than that. Okay, drag my... hold on. Yeah. You're probably going to run out of food within 76 hours. But even after you manage to get out, there's no more food at the supermarkets. Take into account that the EMP affects cars as well. So the supply chains are fucked. Meaning that whatever it is at the supermarket, that's it. Assuming you're in a city, right? And the thing is, like, the supermarket owner will probably still be selling, I assume. Because they're not thinking it's like, oh, well, I'm going to sell, and then I'm going to run out of food. Like, the supermarket owner is going to be, oh, okay, well, the refrigerator isn't running. So if the refrigerator isn't running, I need to get rid of the food as soon as possible. But yeah, like the thing that I would want to get is water, like bottled water, because if you have a nuclear blast, chances are the actual water gets contaminated. So the actual drinking water from the faucet is probably bad. So you want to get drinking water, bottled water, as much as possible. Don't nuclear blast destroy buildings? Yeah, but like this is assuming you're not within the blast zone. So you're further away, but you still get the radiation and you still get the EMP. So I guess like this is for these people.
Step 2. Stay inside.
But yeah, like move away from the windows. The blast zone, like even if you're far away from it, can still break windows and you can still get shards of glass.
Shut all doors and windows. Have a basement? Head there. If you don't have one, get as far into the middle of the building as possible. If you were outside after the blast, get clean immediately. Remove and bag all outer clothing to keep radioactive dust or ash away from your body.
This apartment is unrealistic. Why?
Step 3. Stay tuned.
Oh, yes. Like, can anyone tell me when was following the media a good idea? Like, in human history. But how the fuck can I stay tuned if the EMP fries all electronics, lady? How can I stay tuned? Like, please explain to me. Like, the biggest problem of the EMP is that everything that's electronic dies, right? So you're not, like, even if you have friends in the countryside and you can be, okay, well, I can order some food. You can't. Like, the phone lines aren't working. Your car isn't working. Your credit card isn't working. Your cell phone isn't working. Like, it would change your life so dramatically that a lot of people wouldn't even be able to cope. So, yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to follow the media. I love it, like, follow the media. It's not the politicians, okay? Like, don't follow instructions, not the media. Follow the media. The media, oh.
Follow media for more information.
Yeah.
Don't forget to sign up for Notify NYC for official alerts and updates. And don't go outside until officials say it's safe.
But what if you don't have food, woman? What if you don't have food? What do you do then? I mean, I get it. It's not safe, but you're starving. What do you do?
All right.
Yeah, like this thing with like Starlink, your phone isn't working. Like, how do you connect to Starlink? Like, the only way you can get around is if you have one of these, there's like suitcases that are designed to protect you from a nuclear attack. Sorry, that are designed to protect equipment from an EMP. And that's the only way you can still have a laptop or a cell phone or something like that. But I don't believe many people even have those. The only way is that, let's say the Ukraine-Russia war, you know, it gets even worse and nukes start flying. Then maybe you will see people buying bunkers and people buying phones and, you know, like phones that are made to resist an EMP and that type of stuff. But by the way, speaking of follow the media, I really love this one. Like, this is my most favorite picture of the day. The media have decided who the next prime minister is. So if you don't get the joke, whenever they decide the new pope, the College of Cardinals, they get together and they have to vote for a new pope, and they're isolated. They're secluded inside a building, and all of their electronics are taken away. And then if they manage to elect a pope, I believe they burn black smoke. So they have like various papers that emit the black smoke. And if they don't, then they emit white smoke. So the media constantly watches, you know, it's like, oh, the council has let white smoke. So they're not, that they haven't voted for a pope, and then they try again. But this is like brilliant, you know, this is my favorite picture. The BBC voted for a new diversity hire. Oh God. But it is what it is. I mean, the media does, in Britain especially, it contains a lot of power. And they do act like it. Like, they do genuinely try to become like the new clergy. Like, they give morality to people. They do their best in order to influence people. I mean, look, I remember before the last British elections, they had this article where it was more like, see, this person you never met in your life, this is why you need to hate them type of article. So instead of like saying, okay, well, this candidate, he supports this and this and that, they were like, well, this candidate, once upon a time, our offense necromancers have unearthed a tweet where he said racismus. And this other candidate from another evil party, far, far, far right, he's in a band which has Nazi vampires, and they're singing heavy metal. And I'm not even kidding. Like, that, there was this article where they're literally criticizing a guy for LARPing as a Nazi vampire in a heavy metal band. I mean, that is the level of the press, right? Because they're telling you, you're not allowed. He did say racismus, yes. This is our new prime minister, if you understand our woke signal. I saw Fox News making a very interesting report on why Boris got ousted from the party, and a lot of people are saying because he wasn't a conservative, because the conservatives themselves stopped liking it. So I don't know whether or not that's true, but it's an interesting take. Alright, well, that video was done a lot faster than I expected. Let's see what the people are saying. Let me see if it's safe to show. Yeah, it is safe to show. Like, the thing with Twitter that I hate is that you can't disable things that are not safe for work. Because on other platforms you can, but on Twitter you can't. So I'm always afraid of showing stuff from Twitter or YouTube, because you might actually end up with la gente. Remember to shout your pronouns out to the first responders so they can do proper triage. Oh my fucking god, this is... I mean, we know that the articles would probably be like, nuclear blast, you know, protected groups most affected. Do they know something we don't? Everyone here in support of nuclear energy. What the fuck? A nuclear blast and nuclear energy are two different things. Like, a reactor melting down isn't the same like a nuclear blast. If a like, the thing is, if a reactor melts down, you would have people being evacuated, right? So, like, get inside, stay inside. No, like, you just have, like, no, leave. A reactor melting down, you wouldn't even have an EMP blast. So it would be, well, I'm not saying a lot easier to fix, but it would definitely be like different measures that are being taken. Inside of what? Collapse rubble. Well, assuming that you're not within the blast zone, it's vitally important to shut the windows when the roof and walls are 8 miles down the road. It's important to find out why CNN is blaming Trump for this. So yeah, make sure to stay. My fucking god, I can literally see it. Like, I can literally see it, you know, like, in such a situation, CNN will be like, this is why the Republicans are evil. It would be a short word, my friend. The government has nukes, too many of them, but they're legit. I'm sure if we talk, we could find common ground to protect our families and communities. No. Like, the concept, the leftist concept that, oh, well, sometimes, you like, diplomacy is always an action. But what if the other side isn't fucking interested in talking, you know? what ended world wars was the invention of the nuke. That's what ended world war. It wasn't talking. It's like, we got nukes, they got nukes, and no one wants to fuck around. And since then, there was no World War III. I like nukes. Keeps people in check. So the thing is, I actually looked at the plans. Like after World War II ended, there were plans on what would happen if Russia attacked or if the United States attacked. And Russia had like, okay, well, we're going to nuke as much as we can, and then we're going to pull back and see what happens. And America was like, okay, well, we're going to nuke as much as we can, and then we pull back and see what happens. Like, basically, both parties were hoping that the initial shock would be high enough that there would be no retaliation. Deep psyop, getting people to not care about their cities. They're trying to instill more nihilism. They want to let the nuke hit New York City and destroy their financial apparatus. What the fuck? How is this getting you to not care about your city? Like, why? Because you have to stay inside? I mean, I get, like, fine, yeah. Obviously, if you have neighbors under the rubble, I guess your humanity would dictate that you go help them out. But I usually think of these like you're far enough from the blast, so there aren't people under the rubble. Now, even when there's earthquakes, I don't know people that actually go out of their way in order to travel 50 kilometers to save survivors. Like, if they happen to be in a neighborhood where there's wreckage, yeah, like, people do try to help each other out. But, like, I don't think, like, people just get in a car and drive, like, 1 hour just to find the wreckage so that they can start helping. Yeah, it's not nihilism. It's literally you're going to die, like, you're going to get radiated. Get under the table, put your head between your legs, kiss your butt goodbye. Miss him yet. Wait, you've actually predicted the future for 40 years and people still listen to the psychopath? I don't know who this guy is. Dena Ina. I have no idea who this guy is. That's dumb. If it hits, they're all dead. Dude, like... There's people who either trivialize nukes, like they don't think it's a big deal, and then there's people that give the nukes like this, I don't even know how to say it, I guess like apocalyptic proportion. Like, first of all, there's two types of nukes, right? Like, there's tactical nukes, and then there's strategic nukes. The tactical nukes are the ones that don't, I mean, they do a lot of damage, but it's to a more concentrated area. So you can just target a military base with them or something. And then you have like the strategic, oh, it's Ron Powell. I see. Thank you, Aiden. And then you have the strategic nukes, which they can destroy. I believe like the Satan missile might actually destroy an entire state. I might be wrong. But the Satan missile, the one that they launched, was not even as big as they could make it, and it did colossal damage. Actually, let me see if I can find a chart of it. Which is stronger, an actual nuke, or Lawrence Southern just dropped on Milo, Paul Joseph Watson, and Tommy Robinson careers? I don't know what she did. Okay. Here we go. I mean, this is insane when you look at it. So, I don't know if you guys can see it. Hold on. Let me make myself smaller here. There we go. So this is the Hiroshima, right? Like, this is the one launched on Japan and Nagasaki. Like, these two nukes, they ended the war, right? And this is Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. This is where the average commercial airline, like, if you ever traveled with a commercial airline, Like, you know how high up they fly. Like, you can't, like, I mean, if you look down, you see the clouds. You don't even see the cities, right? So this is the B-83 bomb. And then you have Castle Bravo. And then you have the Tsar Bomba. And then, like, the actual Tsar Bomba would actually be larger than this. Right? Because they didn't use the full payload. It would be a waste to use it one big one instead of a bunch of small ones. Not really. Because the moral impact, this is at a level that's unthinkable. The damage you would do to the morale of the enemy if you drop something like this, it's just like, I don't think people can even compute, you know. And then you're like, okay, well, if one did that, like, what happens if we get another? So it's definitely okay. Like, this is why mutual assured destruction is a thing, because it's not about these little ones anymore. It's about, like, these big ones. Like, dude, again, this is Mount Everest, all right? Like, this goes into the fucking stratosphere. This is insane. It's called Satan because of NATO designation. But it probably has a different name in Russia. And chances are, like, this isn't even the biggest. Like, chances are they managed to make bigger. And by the way, this, people said it's like, oh, it would be better to use smaller ones. They already have them made. I mean, there's already an arsenal that have them made, and you have, like, the little ones, you know, and you have big ones. So it's not like they have to manufacture one now. Like, they already have the supply. So but I wonder how the plane, like I don't think the people that would launch this would also be able to live. Like, unless you have it launched as a intercontinental missile, which I suppose it's a possibility, any other delivery system would ensure the death of the operator. Like, if you drop it from a plane, there's no way the plane manages to fly fast enough and get away from this. If you launch it from an artillery strike, there's no way that the artillerymen are fast enough. I did, Aiden. Yes. They used to have, like, an actual artillery, a nuclear rifle. Like it would fire a nuke. I forgot the name of it, but it would ensure that the crewmen get radiated. I mean, they never actually used it. But if they had, that the actual soldiers unlucky enough to fire wouldn't have made it. And I believe the way it was meant to be used was to fire it in case of a retreat. So they're retreating and they're providing cover. But look at this. Look how ominous this shit is, okay? The 280mm atomic cannon. Look at this.
Added to the program, some additional effects tests were scheduled to have feet above ground. Since no gun-type assembly had been detonated since the Hiroshima bomb, the weapons...
This isn't the video. I think this is the one, yeah. I mean, I guess if you die from this shit, it happens so fast you probably don't like your brain probably doesn't even feel the pain. Looks like a propaganda piece. Well, it was made for public consumption, but the test was real. I mean, the footage they got wasn't manufactured. And the nuclear artillery is actually a genuine weapon. You can look it up. Those are from different tests. How is it a fake video if they're from tests? I mean, yeah, it's an edited video to make it look cool. But the nuclear thing is actual real, like the nuclear artillery. And it's actually real. And the videos that you see is from actual nuclear tests. How did they film it? They usually leave a camera that's zoomed in. So the camera is far away, but it uses zoom. You know, there's a guy that actually got nuked 3 times. Like, when I heard about that, like, how the fuck? So, apparently, there's this guy who... which one was the first? Hiroshima or Nagasaki? I think Hiroshima was the first, right? So, the guy was living... got nuked in Hiroshima. And he survived. And then he happened to live in Nagasaki. So, he went home, right? To tell his family that he's alive. A lot of people were commuting between Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, he goes home and he gets nuked the second time. Now, okay, well... Okay, Nagasaki number 2. Okay, so whatever. Now, several years later, he took the hobby of fishing. And as a fisherman, he was out at sea when a nuclear test happened. And he got nuked the 3rd time. Apparently, it flipped his boat. But I want to, Just how unfucking lucky can you be? I mean, the experience that he described was quite harrowing. Apparently, the nuclear flash is so powerful that even if you have your eyes closed, you can see the skeleton from your hand. It's kind of like X-ray, you know? You get to... Like, if you have a doctor in front of you, he can diagnose you without any other equipment. He lived to 93. I have no fucking idea. But there's like several people that got nuked twice. So that's not very uncommon because, as I mentioned, there was a lot of commuting happening between Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But to get nuked 3 times, I mean, that was unfucking lucky. Did the fish survive the nuke? I don't think it fell into the ocean. Like he was out at sea, and I think like the nuke happened on land, but the blast still affected him, and he also managed to see the flash. Yeah, the sad thing is he got no superpowers, but still. The dude is worthy of a Sabaton song. Anyway, let me see if I got any super chats. Probably not, because I'm not worthy. I shouldn't have streamed at this hour. What is wrong with me? But it's also the topic. I guess should have picked a better topic. It's fine. I'll see if I can find the guy. Or actually, never mind, because it's probably... well, it would take me a while to find him. The guy who got nuked thrice is the luckiest there is. 3 super weapons couldn't take him down. Man, like you say it like that, but it's a harrowing experience, dude. It is unfathomable. Like the way people described it, the survivors, as I mentioned, it's like a flash that's so bright if you look at it, you get blind. Like you lose your sight. Can you imagine this? Like you don't even know what's happening. The sound is so loud that people can get blood coming out of their ears as their eardrums burst. And this is, like the ones that have their eyes closed and don't look at the flash. They can see with their eyes closed. They can see in front of them like the bones from their hand. It is an experience that is so fucking harrowing. And to have it 3 times, that's Jesus. 3 chances and he didn't even get transported to his own isekai, yeah? Then don't look at it. Well, it's not like you have much of a choice. They're like, it's not that oh, by the way, there's going to be a nuke, right? Like, you're minding your own business and then like a deafening roar happens. And if you're facing it, you have no choice but to look. And probably, even if it's behind you, you're still going to turn around to see what the fuck. Like, it's not like, well, I guess like, unless like it's a nuclear test or something like that, or you're part of the group that launches it and you're aware, yeah, sure, you can wear protective goggles and you can choose not to look at it. But like, either than that, everyone is going to fucking look at it. Like, what are you talking about? Plus, I would probably look at it just out of curiosity. I mean, it's a fucking nuke. I want to see it. What's the worst that can happen? I would be pissed off if it happened to me a 3rd time. Well, I think a lot of people would be pissed off. Especially since, like, again, you probably have friends and families that got hurt or worse during the first 2. You would see it before you hear it. Unless it's behind you. Like, if it's behind you, yeah, you would see this massive flash. Like this second sun appearing. Like, well, what is that light, And you turn it around, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, you do go blind. It's kind of like a flashbang, but worse. And you go blind for a couple of minutes. I guess, like, some people might go blind permanently. It really depends, but most people, like, go blind and then recover. What if you blink during the white splash? No, you still, like the flash is so powerful, you get to see through the eye. You see things, even if you close your eyes. It always amazes me how a guy like V, that has supposedly studied both law and medicine, lacks basic understanding of a level physics. Oh, what exactly am I misunderstanding? And it's not like at med school they teach you about nukes. Neither at law school. Like, law school has nothing with physics. People close to the blast become shadows. Oh yeah, that's that's an ominous thing. Like it like the people that are very close to the blast, they literally become just a dark spludge on the wall. And apparently, like, they die so fast, they don't even, like, their brain doesn't even compute what happened. One guy at Hiroshima had the fireball permanently etched into his retina. Jesus fucking Christ. Hey, can you imagine living with the horror for the rest of your life? Because again, like, for them, it's like their 9/11, I guess. You know, like, it's an event so traumatic in Japanese history. And you probably lost friends and family, and then whenever you close your eyes, you just remember. That is so fucked up. They skip laws of physics in law school? Unfortunately, yes. We did a a type of physics at med school. We did biophysics, but that's more to do with color reactions and photometry, and you kind of learn a little bit about how the X-ray machine works and how the MRA scan works, but like you don't actually learn nuclear physics. Or actually, what am I talking about? There was a course of nuclear physics, but it was like very basic, and it has to do with medical imagery. Are you literally ignorant of X-ray and gamma rays and their interaction with your optical receptors? Yes, I am literally ignorant. You think a window protects you from a radiation blast intense enough to melt glass? When did I say that a window protects you? What? I think what they're trying to say at the New York ad, right? Like the one from the government that you need to stay indoors. Let's see, the one where, okay, so the nuclear preparedness, the one that we watched, I think it assumes that you're not actually in the hot zone. So when a nuke explodes, from my understanding, there's 3 zones. You get the red zone, which is the blast area. You get the yellow one, which is where most of the radiation goes. And then you get like the green one, which is affected by less radiation. So no, like the window will not protect you of radiation, but you still get more protected indoors by the fallout than if you're out. The problem is that, again, all of your electronics are going to stop working. So you're going to run out of food, so you might have to get out, because otherwise you starve. And the problem is also that the cars don't work, so the supply chains are going to be disrupted, and worse, all the cars that stop in the middle of the street is going to make it very difficult for first responders to arrive. I mean, if you're talking about a busy highway and it's now filled with cars that are blocking the road, it's going to be very difficult to remove them. I expect a doctor to at least understand the basics of electromagnetism. Get the fuck out. Go to a hospital and ask any doctor you want about the basics of electromagnetism. Like, most will probably not know. I mean, they will know how the machine functions, like which button to press to open it, and which button to press to start it, and how to interpret the results. But if you actually ask them the physics behind them, they'll tell you to fuck off and go ask the engineer. You do get like a basic training in med school, but again, like the thing is, as most knowledge, if you don't use it, it's lost. So, considering the fact that at the hospital you don't really see cases of radiation poisoning, I wonder if a doctor would even recognize it, to be honest. Unless they ask, it's like, hey, where do you work? And they're like, oh, well, I work in a radioactive environment. But let's assume that, or maybe like there's like 100 people that all have the same symptoms. But let's assume you have one guy that has gone through radiation poisoning and he goes to a hospital and he doesn't know he's got radiated. It's going to, first of all, it would be a miracle if the doctors diagnose him properly. But secondly, even if they do, the guy is going to be like so far within the sickness that by the time they figure out, it would be too late. Are there any cases of potassium overdose? Oh, there's a lot of that. It's usually due to medication, though. They would mix it up with food poisoning. Yeah, because like as a doctor, you're trained to think of the most common things. There's actually this medical saying, when you hear hooves, you need to think of horses before zebras. So basically, you have to think of like what's more common. And given the fact that radiation sickness is incredibly rare, I mean, I don't think in the entire 5 years that I've been at the hospital there was a single patient with that. Yeah, most people aren't going to think of radiation sickness. They often don't recognize it because it's so rare. Yeah. Check out the channel Plainly Difficult. He covers cases of radiation exposures, among other disasters. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, the only way they would recognize it is if many people would show up with the same symptoms. So if you have like 100 people that suffer radiation sickness, then they would be like, okay, well, what's going on here? And they would figure it out, and then they would start finding out like where is the radiation coming from. But the way like you would discover someone with radiation sickness is that they usually ask you at the hospital. I don't know if they do that in the US, but here they ask you like, where do you work? And the reason they ask you where do you work is so that they can figure if you do any hazard jobs. So if you work at the nuclear plant, if you work at with an x-ray machine or anything like that. So like if it was another doctor that worked with an x-ray machine, they would try to figure out if the shielding has failed or if there's any problem with the machine or anything like that. Iodine pills, yeah, so like the thing with iodine pills is that there is radioactive iod and there's the safe iod. Now your thyroid takes iodine from the atmosphere, and the one that it takes, it's usually safe. But if there's a nuclear explosion, then the one in the atmosphere is radioactive. So the idea of taking iodine pills is so that your thyroid is completely full with iod and it doesn't try to take anything else from the atmosphere. You'd have to be a pretty bad doctor not to notice the nuke cloud outside. Well, we're talking about like one patient just shows up with radiation sickness, right? So, and there have been cases with that. I think the last case in my country was a chemistry teacher, which this is like before, well, not actually before World War II. I think it was like shortly after. It was a chemistry teacher and he was trying to run an experiment or something, and he had nuclear, he had like some nuclear substances that weren't shielded properly. There's another case in the US, like there was this Boy Scout that wanted to create a homemade nuclear bomb just to show that it's possible, and what he found out was that the smoke detectors had very small amount of radioactive material. So he ordered from the company a huge amount of smoke detectors in order to, say it was for a science project. And he broke them apart, got the nuclear material together, and he got sick because, well... But still, he wanted to show that you can make like a homemade nuclear bomb. I don't know if he made a reactor. He definitely had enough to make a bomb. So, like, if you have someone like that and he goes to the hospital and he's sick, it's going to be very difficult for doctors to find what the fuck is wrong with him. Like, they're probably going to think poisoning, like food poisoning, maybe mushrooms that he ate. But like the last thing is going to be like, oh well, this guy was such a dumbass. He actually played with radioactive isotopes and then he radiated himself. He did it to make a reactor? Well, I heard it was a nuke, but whatever. It's still a bad idea. Like this is another interesting question. A lot of people have asked, it's like, why can't we have nuclear-powered cars? Because that would be really cool, right? Like, you have your nuclear-powered car, and then you don't have to use gas anymore. You don't have to, right? It would run for a long while. And one of the reasons is, well, imagine if there's a car crash. Like, what do you do with the radiation? I like the game Fallout use this. Like, if you shoot the cars, they do, like, a little mushroom explosion. It probably wouldn't be like that, but if you have like a car crash, there's like you manage to expose the fuel source, then well, it's going to be really bad for the people around. Plus, you know, like the possibility of people making bombs. I mean, you could, like, if every car would have nuclear power, then you'd buy 100 cars and take the power cells, and you could be able to create a nuclear bomb. Where were you or your parents after Chernobyl collapsed? I was like, so I was recently born, because I'm born in the same year with the Chernobyl event. I'm like the atomic child. And I was in Romania. It was kind of weird because, like, the news didn't say anything up until 2 weeks, but the doctors knew. So my family, having 2 university professors in it, they knew about it and started giving everyone like iodine pills. But yeah, like the people didn't know. Like they wouldn't say on television. On television, it was like, oh, it's mostly a conspiracy theory. They showed images with Chernobyl and showed that, like, oh, it was a small fire, but the Western media is exaggerating. Like, it's no problem, no radiation. Let me actually see if I can find that movie, because it's very interesting to see how they were lying to people. I don't know if I can find it, because there's that clip from the Russian news, and they're literally showing Chernobyl, and they're saying, "Oh, look, you know, the Western powers are saying that it was an explosion, but there's nothing. It was just a fire. Blah blah blah."
Insalatissime Rio Mare.
Let's see if this is the one. I hope this is the one. I'm watching the commercials. Takes a bit. I think this might be the one.
Most Soviet nuclear plants do not have containment buildings, the thick concrete dome structures Americans are used to seeing built around U.S. reactors.
Okay, no, this is not the one. This is a report from the Western side. I'm curious from the Russian side.
That Soviet nuclear act
to take care of
Reports over here.
I don't know why I can't find
It's
it.
now clear that the Soviet Union has suffered
about 600 reactors.
Did they remove it from YouTube because it was in Russian? Because I remember it
But
was
first, that
the first
explosion at a
report that I saw. It was from the Russian side. Oh, I think I found the one.
There has been a nuclear accident
To the east.
Consequences of the accident are being taken care of.
Whatever did occur there.
Nah. Yeah, I think YouTube just removed it. I think they removed the video. It's so
There has been a nuclear accident
1954.
very sad. Oh, I think I found it. Okay, this is from the Soviet TV.
На Чернобыльской атомной электростанции произошла авария. Поврежден один из атомных реакторов. Принимаются меры по ликвидации последствий аварии. Пострадавшим оказывается помощь. Создана правительственная комиссия.
Nah, it's not the one that I'm looking for. It's sad that I can't find it, but basically, like,
Fuel and another. The authorities.
they show the disaster site that they're like, oh well, the West is lying. It was just a small fire. You got nothing to worry about. The situation is under control, etc., etc. Fission won't happen in the current state of global politics. Yeah, that is true. Like there were I believe there was like a climate activist CEO as well, and he was like, why would we want fusion? Because like they don't want people to be able to have cheap energy, because then they were like, if we have cheap energy, then people will multiply like rabbits, and that's not what we want. So they want the current system because the solution for the problem is more government. If the solution were be cheap energy, then you don't need more government. And the government is looking into the government. Why is your country price gouging oil? What? I don't think the government sets the price for oil. Like, the government can take measures in order to increase or lower the supply of oil, but the government itself is the one that's setting the price. Anyway, we got 5 more minutes. Man, I'm really sad that I couldn't find the footage that I wanted. There have been points in history of the planet where atmospheric CO2 levels have been 3 times higher. How did they measure it, though? I mean, I know how we can measure it now, but like, how did they measure it in the past? OPEC says the price. Exactly. OPEC says the price for oil. Like, I really hate the concept of price gouging. Like, the people who talk about price gouging don't understand supply and demand. If there's less supply and there's a high demand, then the price goes up. And if it didn't, then you'd just run out of things. Russian footage forever lost due to politics. I do think so, because I remember like having that Russian footage, literally the first video that would pop up. And now it's not there. Anyway, right. Sorry for the more boring stream, I guess. I'm really I'm really tired right now, barely able to speak. So I'll end it here. Go to bed. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.